Are we set with the slides?
Yes, can you see my screen? Let me know if you can see my screen.
We can see your screen, but it's not full screen. It's like it's in a browser.
Okay.
Oh no, you can use the PDF. Okay, that's better. That's better. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, good. Okay. All right. So I know we were expecting a few more people, but we will kick off with what we're doing with those who are here already. Thank you for those who have arrived and came on time. I think this is being recorded so people can watch the recording later. All right. So today we're looking at the topic of from stuck to unstuck, making a career change with confidence. Tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to share a couple of thoughts, principles. Then I'm going to take you on my career journey, how I journeyed in my career, and then I'll just kind of finalize it with a few tips and tricks to make your career a success. So thank you to Japa Global for inviting me. Thank you to Owen also for hosting this. And yeah, if you go to the first slide, thank you. So I like to start this off by asking that question: Who are you? Right? And if this was in a room and we are doing a workshop, I'd probably have asked you to write on a card, "Who are you?" Right? Because knowing who you are is vital and comes very heavily into play when you're looking at your career. So, who are you? Next slide, please. Socrates says this: Know thyself. Right? It's imperative that we get to know ourselves, know who we are, what we stand for, what we believe. And to kind of help with that, I created something called a personal audit. So let's go to the next slide. So this personal audit is very simple, and you can put in a spreadsheet or whatever, but start with what is your mission? You can change that word mission to vision to goal, like your overall lifetime goal. What is your mission? Understanding what your mission is on planet Earth. Then number two, what motivates you? Because we're all motivated by different things. We're motivated by things at different stages of our career. Sometimes we're motivated by money. Sometimes we're motivated by influence. Sometimes we're motivated by stocks. Different stages in our career, we have reasons. We have different reasons for what motivates us. And understanding yourself, understanding what motivates you is probably very, very important. Number three, what rewards do you expect? I'm not just talking about salary. Like, are you looking for recognition? Are you looking for leadership? Are you looking for influence? What rewards are you expecting to come? And a lot of that is driven by what motivates you. So if you understand what motivates you, and depending on where you are, like I remember when my kids were much younger and we just had, babies in the house, I was motivated by getting money so that we could feed these kids and educate them. Now that my youngest is off at university, my motivations are different. So therefore, my motivations influence the rewards I expect. What is your purpose in life? Why are you here? I mean, you could say it links to your mission, but mission and purpose have a little bit of a difference. And then what defines you? If I ask your husband, your wife, your spouse, your best friend, your mom, your sister, your brother, your former boss, your current boss, how would they define you? How do you define yourself? That's very important. Then what rights do you have? Like, what rights do you have? For example, if you feel like you're a graduate, then you feel that you have the rights to get a graduate job. If you have done some leadership in the past, you feel like you can be given leadership position. But the rights you understand and believe that you have a way of impacting your career progression. Number seven now, which is what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What opportunities do you expect, or what opportunities do you see in front of you, and what are the threats? And because it's a personal audit, these will be different. If you, for example, if you japa, your opportunities and threats could change. Even if you stay, your opportunities and threats can change. But doing this personal audit of checking what these things are and how they're progressing is very important. And then the final bit of your personal audit is, why are you doing what you're doing? Understanding your why. I mean, we all know what we're doing, we know how we're doing it, but why are you doing what you're doing? Why is your career so important to you? Why do you want to make career change? Why do you want to make career progression? So, doing this personal audit in your own time It's going to be a very, very powerful key for you to go from unstocked, from stock to unstocked, right? So personal audit. Next slide, please. All right. And to kind of belabor that point, the truth of the matter is you are unique. Like a lot of us want to be the next Dangote. You can't. It's not a prayer point. It's not even a you can't you can never be the next Dangote. You're going to be the next version of you, the best version of you. And so you I mean, we are unique. Our DNA is unique. We are unique individuals. We have unique experiences. We go through unique, like you can put two people, even twins, you can put them in the same circumstances. They're going to have different outcomes because they are unique. And so my challenge to you as you go on this career journey is be your authentic self. And then some people say, well, if being my authentic self means that, maybe people don't like me or people don't approach me, I would still say being your authentic self beats, being somebody else. Because if you're somebody else, you're never going to really flourish and be fulfilled in your career. Next slide, please. Yeah, and that picture just tried to show you, like, stand out. The fact that you stand out is a good thing. It's not a bad thing. There will be challenges along the way, but be your authentic self. Next slide, please. I love this, and I don't know if any of you have ever watched Gladiator. It's an old film now, but Marcellus Aurelius, and I think it was one of his battles, as he was about to go out to battle, one of the other gladiators asked him a question. He said, "What we do now echoes in eternity." And I like this slide and I like this quote because I say to people, what you do at the beginning of your career has a big, big impact on what's going to happen at the end of your career journey or the middle of your career journey. And so remember that whatever you're doing now is going to echo out in eternity. Let me kind of give you an example of what I mean by that. One of the things I mean by that is if you decide that you're going to change career now, it has a positive or a negative effect on what happens to you in the future. If you decide that, oh, you're about to get a promotion, but you decide to leave, it's going to have a impact on your journey. So what you're doing now has a way of impacting your future. And actually, there's a lot of people who now reflect that, oh, I wish I had studied a little bit more and got a 2-2 instead of a third class. But not that these things matter, but I'm just saying is that what you do now has a way of echoing out into your career future. So take your decisions wisely. Be reflective, be thoughtful, because what you do now has an impact on your career in the future. Okay, next slide, please. And for you to be successful in your career, I'm sure there are many things, right? But here are four things I want to just focus on for today. Number one, purpose. Second time we talked about purpose, right? In your personal audit, we talked about purpose. Here again, I'm going to talk about purpose. Purpose is very, very, very important because when you understand your purpose, why are you doing what you're doing, what your purpose is, it helps fuel your passion. I think I wrote a quote today on LinkedIn that, if your purpose is infused with passion, it will lead to impact. But passion is not enough. Like I say to startups, you could be passionate about something. Doesn't mean you're going to become a great success. Focus is very important. What is your focus? Do you have enough focus on your career to allow you to move from the stage you're in now to the stage you want to be? And remember, we titled today as moving from stock to unstock. And purpose helps you move from being stuck because your purpose drives your passion drives your focus, and your focus drives your discipline. Because if you have discipline, you will eventually get out of a stuck situation. And actually, I love this. And it's kind of like it could be secular. Your passion could help fuel your focus, but also your focus can fuel your passion. Your passion fuels your purpose. Your purpose also fuels your passion. And your discipline can, make you realize your purpose very clearly and fuel your focus. And so keeping these things almost in a circular motion of what's my purpose, where's my passion, am I being disciplined about this, am I learning new things, am I being focused, and these things are very, very helpful. Next slide, please. So I saw this on Harvard Review and Business Review, and I knew this already. But when I saw it on Harvard Business Review, I was like, oh, this is so powerful. It says to involve people at the deepest level, you need stories. The question is, what is your story? What is your journey? And I always encourage people to write their story down. Write the story of your career down. And in a few minutes, I'm going to take you on my career journey, um, just to kind of give you a guide and tell you some anecdotal stories. And at the end of that, we'll then look at some principles that help me on my career journey, and then we'll go to Q&A. Okay, next slide, please. So I don't know if you can see that very well. It's a bit busy because it represents 30 years of my life almost. And I'm just going to talk you through it, right? I'm just going to talk you through it, and I'll try and guide you from top to bottom. So the way it runs is it runs from there's three sections. The first section runs top to bottom. The second section runs bottom to top, and then the third section runs but top to bottom. Okay, so I'll just take you on this journey, right? So I started out my career in Obafemi Awolowo University, Great Ife. To any of those who went to Ife, just drop it in the chat. Just say Great Ife if you know. Even if you went to OAU, it doesn't matter. You're still Great Ife. So I did my first degree in civil engineering. I went then to Agbo to do my National Youth Service, my NYSC. And when I was there, I worked as an engineer for 1 year. Having finished my NYSC, I wanted to go back to Lagos and get a job, even though at the end of my NYSC, I was offered a job because I did such a good job that they thought I should stay, but I didn't want to stay in Delta State. So I came back to Lagos, and I've always had this passion around being a magazine editor or book publisher. And so I went to work as a magazine editor for about 6 months. And in that time, my fiance, who's now my wife, she had moved to the UK. So this is, I mean, it's not what I don't want to say we're the first jackpot. These are people in that season who were doing the brother Andrew. If you're old enough to know what I mean, you know what I mean. So before jackpot, there was something called I'm checking out. So we were the checking out generation. And so my fiance had moved to the UK, and I followed her. When I got to the UK, there were no jobs. I applied for over 100 jobs, and I got rejection after rejection because nobody was hiring civil engineers because there was a recession on, and also they said I wasn't qualified or trained in the UK regulations. And so I looked around and thought, what can I do? I need to find something to be doing. And I found a job as a security guard. Now, my mindset of a security guard was a guard from Nigeria. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, brother Andrew, I'm checking out. Exactly. Thank you for that comment. And my mindset of a security guard was that it was like a guard that just stood in front of the house and opened the gates. But actually, in the UK, security is very, very different. And I was actually at a loss, right? Because I've never done it before. And so I met Amanda. And if you look at point, I think it's point number 4, it's a blue bullet. Amanda was my job mentor. And I tell people that there are two types of mentors. There's a job mentor, somebody helps you get your job done. And there's a career mentor who helps you, who mentors you through your career. And never get the two mixed up. Right? Amanda was my job mentor. She helped me do my job well. She taught me all the intricacies of being a security guard, how you have to clock in, clock out. There's certain things you have to do, how you're supposed to walk around the building, all those kind of things, how you're supposed to protect yourself. Like when I got in a fight with a guy who had a knife, right? Well, not a fight. I was stopping him from robbing a store. And all the things I learned came in very, very handy. Now, unfortunately, one day when I was like 9 months into this role, or maybe about a year, I got stuck. I got stuck because I went for a job. I was doing a job. I was on the site and I was working there. And after 2 days, the manager of the shop tapped me on the shoulder my boss, my supervisor at the job, tapped me on the shoulder and said, "You need to leave site now." I was like, why? I was like, well, the manager doesn't want a black person being in front of the store. I was devastated and now stuck. That means because going into that shop was a promotion. Now I had to go back to my old job, which was just doing warehouses. And when I got back to the warehouse where Amanda still was. She was my supervisor. She looked at me and said, "Shola, what happened?" I said, "Oh, I got thrown off this particular thing." And she looked me in the eye and she said, "Shola, you're better than this. You're a graduate. You have a graduate. You have a graduate. You're a graduate. You've done a BSc, and you're only working here because you want to try and make ends meet. You're better than this. Go out there and find a better job." And so I did. I went to find another security guard job that was paying much more and had more room for growth, right? So I joined a company called Securicore. That's the last bullet in purple on the left there. I won't talk too much about that, but I joined there. But one night while I was working on an 18-hour shift at Securicore, I looked up and there was a poster and it said, looking for graduates who are black um, or or from Caribbean, so black or Caribbean graduates. I thought to myself, I'm a graduate, I'm black, I'm going to apply for this. So I took out the application form, started applying, and at the end it said any other comments. And I thought to myself, I know there's going to be hundreds of people applying for this job. How do I make my application stand out? And so at the other box, I wrote a bunch of other things, but I did mainly write, I will give you 101% commitment. And apparently that caught the attention of the deputy director, John Wilson. John Wilson decided that he was going to interview me by himself. So John Wilson comes into the room, sats me down and says, so I saw this comment in your application. One, you're going to give 101% commitment. What does that look like? So I explained to him what I meant, right? And when I finished explaining to him, he said, "Oh, that's interesting. So what have you been doing for the last 18 months?" I said, "I've been working as a security guard." He said, "Okay." He said, "You know what? I'm going to change the interview. I have all these predefined interview questions, but there's no point asking you all those. I'm just going to ask you questions about security and how you can secure the University of Manchester." My gosh. And this is one of the biggest lessons I've learned is that whatever you find your hand to do it very well because you never know when it's going to come back, right? And so here I am, the opportunity to get this better job, which would double my salary, was now dependent on what I've been doing for the last 18 months. And I want to pause there for those on the call to think to yourself, if somebody says to you, "What have you been doing for the last 18 months?" and it will be the purpose for why we promote you. Have you logged it? Do you mentally, or have you just been doing your job and just getting through life because it's just a job? And luckily for me, I didn't take my security role as just a job, not just something to pay the bills. I really, really kind of enjoyed it. And so when the guy asked me, "What have I been doing for the last 18 months?" I know I did add some James Bond or whatever to it, but I was able to give him like a 5-point step of how he could secure the university. And at the end, at the end of the interview, he said to me, "You know what? You've convinced me. And actually, of the 5 things you suggested, on Monday, I'm going to talk to the team and we're going to implement 3 of them. And oh, and by the way, you've got the job." And so that's how I got the job. And so I started working there, bottom part of the screen here. I was working as a graduate trainee for 1 year. It was a 1 year contract. And when the end came, my bosses, I had 2 bosses, Kevin and Ian, they said to me, and Ian was my mentor, my job mentor at the time. He said to me, "Look, we really like you. We want you to stay, but we don't have a job for you. Um, why don't you come up with a job, right? Come up with a job that you think, based on the work you've done the last 1 year, that you think would work for you." So I went ahead, drew up a job description. Even I don't even know who benchmarked the salary. I think we gave it to HR, and then they came back with the salary. And then when I had benchmarked it, what then happened was 24 other people applied for the job. We went through 3 interviews, and eventually I got the job. And so I started working as a technical clerk at the University of Manchester. And after 2 years, I began to while I was doing that, I began to start to think about my career, but it was still in the mindset of job. It's just a job, right? It's a job that I can do to kind of grow myself, increase myself. I hadn't really understood the whole concept of career, which I'm going to understand later on in the next two jobs. Anyway, but it was a place where I had to make a decision. Do I go into accounting or do I do IT? My dad's an accountant. I thought I'm not going to go compete with him. So I went down the route of IT and I began to teach myself how to program. I taught myself enough that after about 2 years, I applied those principles into my job at the university. I thought to myself, you know what, I'm ready to go out there and apply for the job. So I started applying, and I got two interviews on one day. One was with Oracle. I didn't know who Oracle was at the time, and the other one was with the College of Law. They designed the interview such that the College of Law saw me first, and Oracle were going to see me later. I think the agent did that in that the HR recruiter did that in that way so that there will be pressure on the College of Law to hire me. And so I go to the College of Law interview, and I mean, I smash the interview. It's like amazing. Like they were like, we hire on the spot, we agreed salary, and then they said, but just just to cover all bases, you have to do a technical test. Everybody does a technical test. I'm like, you're coming for a technical role. You're going to be a programmer, so we'll give you a test. It's just 10 questions. I'm sure you'll be fine. So they put me in this room to do this test. And honestly, I looked at those 10 questions and I couldn't answer one, not one, because I taught myself programming, but I taught myself through the easy approach. I hadn't taught myself through the standard approach of how you do programming. And while I was just still floundering there, my boss Chris came in, who later became a mentor to me. He came in and he was like, "Oh, why are you? What's happening? Why have you not done the questions? We really like you, want to hire you." I was like, "Well, I can't really answer these questions." And he literally got onto the whiteboard and began to explain the questions one by one. And by the time he finished explaining them, I was able to answer 6 of the questions. So I got 6 out of 10. Pass mark is like 5.5. So I got 6, and I got the job. Um, Went for the Oracle interview. Didn't really like it. Didn't like me, so I didn't get the Oracle job. But I was happy because I already had a job. So a week before I started the job, Chris called me up. It's like, Charlotte, do you mind traveling down? We'll pay for your expenses. Come down, and I want to have a chat with you. So Chris took me on a walk. There's outside the office. There's a little park, and he took me on a walk. And he said to me, Charlotte, after you left, after we'd offered you the job, we interviewed other people, and some of them were getting 8, some of them 9, some of them 10. In fact, I think the least was 9. I think he said, and you and I know you got 0. Like, really? Um, I hope I haven't made a mistake in hiring you. I was like, no, no, no. Like, I'll give you 101% commitment. There's me again with my 101% commitment statement. And he said, okay, let's see. So I started. A week later, I came back, started, and when I got into the team, I realized, yes, I was the weakest programmer they have ever hired. But then I made up my mind. I was like, it doesn't matter. Like, they've hired me. So now what I've got to do is become better. And so I'll finish work at 6, have dinner between 6 to 7 or something like that, 5, 6, 7. From 7 o'clock to midnight, I was just coding, training. There was no YouTube. There was no AI to kind of help you. I had to kind of do this like hardware, like trying to learn. So I learned enough, and actually, I'll fast forward the story because of time. And I learned enough that 2 years later, when I got bored. I mean, they sent me on projects and programs and all sorts of things. Like, I became one of their best developers. In fact, Chris's boss Nick said to me, "You are one of our best developers. We don't want to see you go." And what I had done was, after 2 years thereabout, I had got to the top of my role, needed a promotion. There was nowhere to go. And so I started looking out, and I got a job with GlaxoSmithKline. If you're tracking with me, that's the purple bullet second section at the top. And there I had I joined as a senior analyst programmer, still doing Visual Basic coding. But then I started getting into analytics and um, data intelligence and business intelligence, and working with all sorts of different tools. And 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 so the point I want to make on this, because I could tell you I can stay here forever on this particular point, because I stayed at GSK for 7 years. I did 5 jobs. So I had 5 promotions in GSK. And then, while my last job at GSK was an outsourcing project, which after I finished doing that job, I decided to go work for Accenture. Or in the end, Accenture headhunted me to come and work for them. And so I worked for Accenture for 2 years. That was a great experience. And while I was at Accenture, now if you're following me, I'm now in the third block, last last one, sorry, at the top, Laura and Barry hired me into PwC. And there I joined as a manager, got promoted within 2 years to senior manager. And then when I was about to get promoted to director, I went through a stock crisis, right? I got stuck. And that was because the skills you need to be a senior manager were very different from the skills you need to be a director. Senior manager, you're managing tasks, you're doing the do, or you're overseeing people to do the do. Whereas as a director, you're leading the organization. And I don't think my mindset has shifted very well from being a senior manager who could do work to a director who led programs and teams. And so I failed my first senior manager promotion, senior director promotion exam. It wasn't even an exam; it was more like a test panel. I failed it woefully, and then my mentor at the time, Laura, said to me, "Actually, you know what? Let's get Barry to mentor you." And Barry began to mentor me, and literally he changed my life. And that's one of the things I can tell you for sure, that my career journey has been totally impacted by all these different mentors, Belinda and Dave. Like all these people really shaped who I am, and Barry shaped me. So when I now went for my director's exam or panel, I passed it with flying colors, one of the best results. And I kind of did that. And then after getting promoted to directorship, one my boss told me, "Okay, sure, now you're promoted. I want to tell you, I'm informing you, you're stuck. I'm not going to let you go to the next level. I'm not going to allow you to become partner because you don't fit in, color of skin, religion, whatever, all sorts of things." He kind of put it on the table. So I kind of stuck at it for a year, and I realized, look, I'm really, really stuck. I need to get out of here. So I resigned. And after I resigned, one of the companies that I've been working with, HSBC, one of the managers had moved to a company called Deliveroo, a fast food company. One of it was growing so fast. I think Deloitte said in that particular year they grew by 15,000%. And so I joined Deliveroo as the head of people operations in 13 countries. I ran that for 2 years, and then I got headhunted by Naspers. Many of you might not know Naspers, but they originally owned MultiChoice, PayU, OLX, and I joined them as a senior director. And I left them last year as a VP, global VP. I was working for 82 companies in 103 countries, and I led a team out of um, Poland, Berlin, Amsterdam, and South Africa. And when that job finished, I decided that, you know what, I've done a lot of corporate career stuff. I want to kind of now become my own boss. And I set up a Just Leadership group, which has two sections. One is my consulting, and the other one is my leadership academy. So that's my story. Hopefully, that's been helpful. Should we go to the next slide as we speed through the next couple of slides? So here are some keys to advancing your career, and the keys that help me. Number one, next slide, please. Have an end game mindset, right? Where are you going? Where is your career going? What's your 1 year plan? What's your 5 year plan? What's your end game plan? Like when it's all done, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, what do you want to be doing? And, we don't have full vision of what we want to be, but at least, people say that, I don't know, Faith, you have your hand raised. Do you have a question or maybe it's a mistake? Okay. All right. I'll let the moderator manage that. Okay. So have an end game mindset. Like where are you going? Have a plan. They say if you don't have a plan, you're planning to fail, right? So have a plan. It's not set in stone. It's malleable. It can change, but have a plan. And then somebody asked me, how do you get an end game? Well, start with your why. Understand your why. And there's a great book by Simon Sinek called "Start with Why." I think if you don't know what your end game plan is, start with why. Of course, get a mentor and then mind map your life journey, just like I've done. Just mind map it. See what you've learned. Who's helped you on your journey? How has your journey been? Have an end game mindset. Next slide, please. Now, ultimately, if you want to go from stock to unstock, you need to do self-assessment and skills development. You need to know and improve yourself. We talked about that in the very beginning. Know and improve yourself. Do a SWOT analysis, but do it consistently. Get feedback. Ask people for feedback. Get feedback because Ken Blanchard said feedback is the breakfast of champions. If you want to become a champion, you need feedback. Then, number four, have continuous learning. Like always be learning. There's always an opportunity to learn. There's always an opportunity to have professional development, self development. Leverage mentors and coaches. Like get a mentor, get a coach, study the market, see what's happening. You see, when I got to GSK, the reason why I had five promotions is because I studied the market. I realized, okay, hold on a second, I can't be a programmer forever because all these programming jobs were going to India. That was when they were doing outsourcing. And so I didn't stay in programming. I moved to business analysis, and while I was doing that, a friend of mine said, hey, why don't you come into project management? Still in the same company. I was just navigating and weaving through until I got to my sweet spot, right? So always be self-assessing, always be self-developing. Next slide, please. So, I mean, if we're talking about being stuck, we're talking about getting promotions. We're talking about being visible. And one of the key things you need to do is build your visibility and brand. So the first thing I will say is kind of like a no-brainer. Number one, be consistently delivering high quality work. Like make sure you're delivering. Like if you say to me, if you ask any of my bosses, did Shola deliver high quality work? It's almost 100% of them would say I did all the time, every time, right? Cultivate this online brand to align with your career goals. Yeah, a lot of people want to be Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, but I just say build and cultivate your online brand to align with your career goals. Things that are going to move you to where you want to go. Number two, foster, a positive reputation within the organization because ultimately, if you're going to get promoted there, you need to have a good reputation within that. Contribute to the team and to the company objectives, and finally, invest in others and seek opportunities to demonstrate your leadership skills. Next slide. I know we're running out of time, but I just want to kind of get through the slides. Next, the other thing you need to do to kind of get your career unstuck is strategically network and build relationships. You've heard the statement, your network is your net worth. So build relationships that foster trust and mutual benefits. Like think about long term. Don't just think about, oh, I want to build a relationship with you because I need a new job from you. But think about like when I moved from PwC to Deliveroo, it's one of my network that kind of opened the door for me. And then respect at all costs. Whatever you do, even if you're leaving a company, do it with respect. And then people will remember you for that. Next slide, please. We're racing now. So we talked about building a strong network. I mean, I would say if you're building a career, the best place to build that network is LinkedIn. It is the best place for now. We don't know what's going to happen in the next year or so, but for now, LinkedIn is the best place. So understand your network, connect to it, learn from your network, give your network, and connect others to your network. This is key, right? I could do a whole hour on building a strong network, but just keep this image in your mind. Understand your network. Who's in your network? Are they ahead of you, alongside you, behind you? Understand that network and leverage it very, very well. Next slide, please. Resilience and grit. Next slide. So I mean, as Nigerians, we have resilience anyway. But when it comes to your career, you need to have resilience. Resilience is like that power that's within you that helps you recover quickly from a setback. Like if you look at my career, there have been setbacks. Like it's not been all plain sailing. I've made mistakes. I've had bad managers. I've dropped the ball sometimes, but ultimately I've used resilience to maintain a positive outlook. And I've coped with the stress and challenges that come with changing jobs, etc., etc. So resilience is that thing that kind of is that kind of ability that says to you, I'm not going to fall apart even when things are bad, even though you have every reason to fall apart. Resilience kind of keeps you going, right? Number two, grit. Next slide. Grit, on the other hand, is this ability to persevere, to maintain focus long term, to not let the current obstacles, right? Do not let the fact that you're working as a security guard obscure you from the fact that you're ultimately going to be a VP sometime along this journey, right? That's where I started from, but I'm not going to stop there. I'm going to allow my passion and my long-term view to kind of drive me forward. Like grit is like a drive for achievement, for success. It's independent and beyond what talent and intelligence contribute. Like grit is different. I could be the most talented guy, but if I don't have grit, the ability to kind of just push, 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 I'm not going to be successful. So grit is important, talent is important, intelligence is important, but you need the combination of talent, intelligence, and grit to really push those far. And I can tell you, I'm telling you things that helped me grow my career. Next one, please. We're getting there. We're almost there. Um, like I don't want to belabor this one, but set goals. Right? Every company, most companies, don't let me say every company, most companies would encourage you to set goals. They will measure performance, and I would just say pay attention to that process, because if you want to get promoted, you need to follow a process. Next slide. I think we're going to make these slides available to you as PDF, so you can go back to it and read. Now, one of the things that really can make your career stuck is your boss, your line manager. And so there's some keys to managing your manager. And I've written a book on this, but I'm just going to kind of go through quickly. There's two environments that you might find yourself in: healthy and unhealthy. Healthy environment, you and your manager get on, they're happy for you to get promoted. And then there's some things you have to do. Six things you have to do. Number one, respect at all costs. Still respect your manager. They might be younger than you. They might have a third class. You had a first class. Doesn't matter. They are your manager, so respect them. Number two, defend, deflect. Never hog the limelight. You're not the. No matter what you never deliver it on your own. There's always people that's helping you. Even if it's just a secretary, a messenger, a driver, somebody drove you to the event. Like everything you do, there's always going to be other people. So don't always hog the limelight. Defer and deflect. If you're in a healthy environment, that's the key thing. Understand the big picture. Like you want to get promotion, but does your company have money to promote you? If they don't, then no matter how much you ask for it, you're not going to get it. So understand the big picture of your organization. Number four, seek to understand, like, what is your line manager's motivation? Because, for example, if you want to get promoted and the next level for you to go is your line manager's role, you're never going to get promoted, because if they don't have any ambition to get promoted, they're going to start sticking your way. So seek to understand what your line manager wants. Number five, on the left hand side, score big when your boss needs, because your boss needs you to, right? A lot of people like, I want to do a good job, but ultimately you have to do a good job for your boss. So score big for your boss, and guess what? Your career will be unstuck. And then finally, understand the power of covering. We all need support, whether it's a board of directors or your line manager's manager. We all need a covering. So as you're managing your manager, remember that you need um, covering. The next section on the right hand side talks about when you're in an unhealthy environment, when your boss doesn't like you, when people are attacking you. So the first thing you need to do in that environment is lay low, right? Don't put your head above the parapet. Just lay low. Do your job and just lay low. Number two, definitely seek mentors and coaches. Not that you don't need mentors and coaches if the environment is healthy, but you definitely need mentors and coaches if it's unhealthy. Number three, study to show yourself. That means still, even if you're in an unhealthy environment, your boss doesn't like you, they're not giving you the promotion you want, but you're planning to stay, then just keep doing a good job. Keep improving yourself. Number four, protect others, because if you're being attacked, I'm sure there are other people. So do due diligence around you, support people, protect them. That's very important. Number five, ride the wave, right? No condition is permanent, right? So the fact that you're in an unhealthy environment right now doesn't mean it's always going to be like that. Doesn't mean that if they told that you're not going to get promoted, doesn't mean you're always not going to get promoted. And then finally, know when to leave, right? Know when to bow out. So that's a quick whistle stop tour around this. But if you're really interested, I think we're going to talk about my book later. But it's not trying to sell a book; it's just trying to sell a principle. All right. Next slide, please. So I've talked about mentors and coaches all day, but I'll just highlight two things on this slide. Number one, the last point on mentorship is a mentor is a brain to pick, an ear to listen, and a push in the right direction. A mentor takes you on a journey that they've already been on. on how to get there. A coach, on the other hand, is there to kind of help you find good methods and how to close out gaps in your skills, build your confidence, build your self-esteem, and they use their knowledge and expertise to help you become a better person. So there's a difference between the two, but you need an effective mentor in your life. So next slide, please. We're getting to the end. Remember, career progression can be a challenging experience, but with time, patience, grit, resilience, courage, you can successfully navigate through it from stuck to unstuck. Next slide, please. So I never do these presentations without recommending books because Dr. Seuss says the the more you read, the more you grow. The more you grow, the more places you will go. So, four books to recommend here. Number one, Winning by Tim Grove. He's an American author. He was Michael Jordan's coach, and he talks about winning. Probably the only book I've read where I threw it away. I was like, "Oh, this is terrible. I'm not going to read this. This is killing me." But then I picked it up again, and actually, since then, every year at the beginning of the year, I will read this book because it's a very powerful book. Ram Chandra is one of the people that's been in more boardrooms than I can imagine. And he talked about high potential leader. This book works whether you're a high potential leader yourself or you're working with more high potential leaders. Number three, How to Lead Smart People, an amazing book. It changed my mindset around multitasking because it basically said nobody multitasks, you just change tasks quickly. And then finally, Betting on the Dark about a story of a great guy. Like, talk about the power of stories. This guy has an amazing, amazing, amazing story. Meto, amazing guy. He's from South Africa. He just tells his story of how he navigated his career, basically. Next slide. I mentioned I've written two books. One is around the art of managing up for career progression. It goes into more detail around that whole how you manage a manager to get a promotion. And then the other book is managing sudden change in your career journey. How you manage sudden change, like maybe you get made redundant, or you resign unexpectedly, or you have a baby. All these things, this book kind of tries to talk to that. And we will make this link available so you can actually get it. You can get it on Paystack for those in Nigeria as a digital copy. Oh, thank you, thank you. And then next slide. I think we are. Next slide, please. I think you should say questions.
I think it ends here.
Okay, fine. So you can stop sharing and we
Okay.
can then take questions.
Hello?
Yes. Hello. I said we can take questions now.
Okay, great stuff. Great.
I know I went over by 5 minutes, but yeah, we can take questions now.
Yes, thank you very much. So, wow, amazing time, amazing session. It was really amazing. Who has questions? Do you have any questions? I saw someone raise their hand. Do you have a question? Any questions in the comment section? Okay, Faith, you can put your questions in the comment section. So, okay, anyone?
There's
Why
a,
the
there's a
echo?
bit of echo from you.
Yes, I'm
Um,
wondering why.
okay.
Can you hear me? Has the
Yeah,
echo
I can hear
stopped?
you. Yeah, we can hear you. I think the
The
echo's
echo.
gone now. Yeah.
Okay, great.
So I think Faith wants to ask a question. So
Okay, Faith, please, your question. Okay, so let me. Okay, thank you for this amazing session. Right? I mean, you can put if you don't have a question, you can put your.
Good
How do I
evening.
know when to bow out of a job? That's from Ebenezer. Faith, please, you can ask your question.
Good evening.
Good
good
evening.
evening.
Thanks for
Your name
this
and where you are
wonderful
tuning
platform.
from.
Thanks for the wonderful platform. I'm calling from Abuja.
Okay.
Anyways, I heard what Mr. Sholas talked about. But one thing is, what most of us don't say is we don't really know how to start a career.
Yeah.
That's like a major issue. Most people are having that problem, but they don't talk about it. So now my question is, how do you know a right career to pick? Because some of us went to school to study something, and presently we are doing another thing to survive, to cope with life and sort. So now getting back on track, how do you pick a career that you think, okay, I can work on this and try to see where it leads me to, like that.
Yeah.
And again, in picking a career, we all know how the world goes now. Is it advisable to work on a career and to also work on something else that brings money for you to fund your career? I don't know if you are getting my
Yeah,
question.
yeah. I'm getting your question.
No,
Getting your
at
question.
times to start a career, you still need money, no matter how, like to run courses, attend classes, in fact, even to buy a laptop to start doing something. Like you said, you are working on programming, right? I know
Yeah.
you actually you use data, you use a laptop like that. So for some of us now that want to, we're looking for a career to pick up,
Yeah.
and we are not working towards that. Like me now, I study education in the university, and presently I'm working with Rekit as a marketer. So now if I'm to change a career course, how do I go about this? Thank you.
All right. So, thank you, Faith. That's a good question, and let me try and do justice to it. I think starting point is, look, that's why I told my story, right? I started off. I studied civil engineering. I'm nowhere near civil engineering right now. I studied civil engineering. When I relocated to the UK, I had to work in security. I worked as a programmer. I worked as a business analyst. I worked. Look, the truth of the matter is that your passion would lead you to your place of career, right? Ultimately. And that's why I said mentors are important, right? Because a mentor is the one that's going to say to you, hey, look, Faith, you've got this, you're working as a salesperson, but ultimately you could become something else, right? Or actually, you might stay in sales and you could become a better salesperson, right? And so I think it's really about having that dialogue and navigating that experience to kind of get to the place where you need to get to. And yes, you're right. All these things require um, tools to kind of help you to get there. But I think the reality is that sometimes what you have to do is manage two things at the same time. Like, for example, even when I was doing security, I still went to study. I did some courses online. Like the world has changed a lot now that you can do a lot of courses online. You can do a lot of things online. So I think the key thing for me and how to choose a career is a combination of what things motivate you, number one. Number two, what are you passionate about? Because you can't have a career in something that you're not passionate about. You can have a job in something you're not passionate about, but you can't have a career in something you're passionate about. So I would say do the due diligence of finding out what are you passionate about. And again, what I don't want to say what is moving because the reality is that what is moving today might not move tomorrow, right? So you really need to kind of do an independent, right? But also bear in mind that as much as people are saying that data scientist is the best career you can have, but actually we still need educators, we still need salespeople. We all these things have to stay together in tandem. But I think the key really is to kind of work it out as to ultimately where you're going to get to. Hopefully that's helpful.
Thank
Faith.
you. That's
Yeah,
helpful. That's
yeah,
helpful. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Phil, for an amazing question. Hadiza. And so also, someone asked the question before, said, when do I know, Ebenezer asked, when do I know when to quit my job?
yeah. So, I mean, when you there are many like, I mean, I'm going to try and do justice to this, but
How to
it's very
balance
hard,
everything.
right? Because the reality is that there's going to be so many reasons why you might have to quit your job. Maybe you and your boss are not getting on. Maybe they're not paying you well. Maybe you don't like the job. So there are many reasons why you might not like the job. But here's the most important thing: you need to discover. That's it. Like if you have a 1 year plan, when you look at your 1 year plan, you say to yourself, actually, if I want to get to this place in 1 year's time, I can't be doing this current job. I need to be doing this other job, or I need to go to school. So I think you're planning out your life is very, very helpful in you determining when you quit your job. So if you think about growth, if you think about patterns, if you think about where you're going, there are many reasons why I've quit jobs in the past, right? And we don't have time in this Q&A to discover all of those. But the key is understand your why, understand your plan, and begin to allow that to drive your decision about when you need to leave a job. Okay. There's a few hands up.
Okay. I mean, before someone said, someone asked this question.
Yeah.
So you spoke about writing your career goals here and in your book. I get it, but then sometimes looking at these career goals and then seeing how far you are from these goals, how do you manage depression and staying sane? Also, apart from reaching out directly to potential mentors, especially in different industry, I'd love to ask what your suggestions are in getting mentors.
Okay. That's a very good question, very detailed. You see, um, your career goals um, are a navigator on the way you're going, right? They kind of help you navigate where you're going. They're a guide, right? Um, how do you manage depression? And that's why I talked about resilience and grit, right? You need resilience because depression, and I'm not a doctor, right? But when you have depression that comes from your career, is because there's setbacks that are happening to you that is impacting your mental health or your mental situation. And so to guide against those things, you need to hook into three things, I would say. Number one, HR. Use human resource, like they're there to take care of you. Force them to work on your behalf. Number two, use your mentors and coaches. And number three, if it is quite severe, I would ask you to leverage counseling, therapy, or whatever builds you as a person. And your goals are there to guide you, but your goals won't snap you out of a difficult situation. And that's why I said um, resilience and grit are very, very powerful tools because when your goals look like they're impossible, resilience keeps pushing you forward, helps you recover from a setback. Whether that is depression, whether that is failure, whether that is disappointment, whether that is challenge, resilience kind of helps you through that. And you probably do need some external help. And then grit says, okay, no, I fell down, but I'm going to get up and I'm going to move forward and I'm going to stay sane and stay focused because this is really driving me crazy. Whether it's my startup, whether it's my career, whether it's my boss, whether it's me, it doesn't really matter. Grit kind of keeps pushing you forward and says, look, against all odds, we're going to survive this. And then you ask a question around mentorship, like how do you reach out to mentors? Like Simon Sinek says this beautifully. It's like ultimately, a lot of people I get DM'd all the time. Oh, would you be my mentor? I was like, I don't even know you. So I would say the first step in finding a mentor is at least get to know them, get to know their story, get to know their journey. And in getting to know them, you can then make that request. Would you mentor me? Now, a lot of organizations have mentoring platforms, so they might just match you with a mentor. That's one way of doing it. But another way is like if you're looking for a mentor by yourself, I would say you go look for people who are doing what you want to do. Because ultimately, for me, mentoring is very different from coaching. Coaching is very different from teaching. A mentor is somebody that you look at and say, hey, I like where you are in your career. I like what you've achieved. I want to be like you. Then you go to them for them to mentor you and they show you how to become like them, not them, like them. And they show you shortcuts. Like, for example, I don't know what you do, uh, Ada, but whatever you're doing, if you find somebody who is in that space, they can then coach you and help you weave through to get to the other side. And then last thing you said that suggestion on getting mentors. Yeah, like I said, build a relationship with people, and then ultimately reach out to them. You know, mentorship shouldn't be a one-way thing. It should be what can you provide to the mentor, what can they get back from you. Hopefully that answers your question because you asked a lot of questions in that one piece.
Yeah, I mean, does that answer your question? You can drop it in the comment section if you're satisfied. And then
I know
I
there was
believe
another hand raised. There's another hand
yes,
raised.
there were two hands. Adiza, your hand was up. Adiza, but I think you've taken your hands down. Then
Okay.
Terry Lagos, you can ask your question. Your hands are up.
Okay, thanks a lot, Mr. Shola. I don't know if time will permit to ask because I have like two, three questions. Maybe I should just shoot all of them at the same time.
Shoot a lot of them at the same time. I think I'm happy to stay for another 10 minutes. I mean, I'm not the organizer. Jackpot Global is, so
No, you can. I mean, yeah,
I'm at their mercy. They are my organs.
Okay. All right. Thanks a lot, sir. So I'm at that place. Okay. I'm off. I've spent like 10 years in my career in project management, over 10 years actually.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm in a place where I need to move higher. I just want you to talk a little bit more about what it takes to make that leap from being the head of project management, so making that leap to a higher level. That's one. The second part is how do you make a career change now? Like for me, someone like me, I'm trying to make career change into growth and strategy, growth marketing and strategy. But then you don't want to, you've risen to this level in this particular field, and then you want to switch to another field. What tends to happen is that your income will probably drop, and that's something I don't want to happen. Of course, you have dependents and all of that. And then the third thing about me is I'm a very hands-on person. How do you balance? Because I know when you're going up, you can't be that hands-on person again. You need to be more of a strategic thinker and all of that. How do you balance that, wanting to be still hands-on and then taking that leap to a higher level? Yeah, those are my questions.
Okay. Three good questions. And I also have a question for you because I will try and answer your question, but I think my question is more important. Like, do you have a mentor?
Yeah, I do. I do. I
Okay.
do. Two
So,
mentors.
so okay. So that's good because that we can anchor my answer because you can take it back to your mentors, right? So the first question you ask is you've been in 10 years in a current role. Actually, your questions are quite all linked, actually. So the first question is around you've been in your current role 10 years and you want to pivot. That's the first question I heard. Second question is how do you pivot or change roles without losing money? And then the third question is like, how do you stop being the hands-on guy? Um, because you find that you are a hands-on guy. You don't want to become the strategic leader, blah blah blah. So the first thing, if you've been in a role for 10 years, it means that over those 10 years you've acquired skills and capabilities that potentially stands you out. So you have enough experience to say to yourself, okay, I am good at what I do. Um, if your key driver is money, then maybe what you might want to do is take a risk, right? Because if you want, you can't keep everything in equilibrium, right? So one of the things you might want to do is go and explore becoming a contractor. So they'll pay you more, you do what you love doing, but you lose the structure of a corporate organization. So that's one option you have. It's not the only option, but it's one option you have. The second option you have is to understand the organization you work with, like the current organization you work in. Will they allow you to stay at the level you are and earn more money without having to go into like a strategic role? And if they so explore your current environment, like it might not be the current team you're in, it might be that you have to go and join another team somewhere else. It might be like I did, like I was a senior programmer, then I become a lead programmer, then became a business analyst, and I completely moved from legal and I moved into HR. And so sometimes you probably need to explore your surroundings, talk to other managers, other directors in other departments that might be closer to what you want to do. And that's if you want to stay in your current organization. If you don't want to stay in your current organization, you can always apply out and go to somewhere else. And then the third thing was around detail. Like if you want to still be a detailed person. Now, the reality is that you can stay a detailed person, but you're not going to get into the C suite by being a detailed person, right? And that's what happened to me when I was going from senior manager to director. I was just focused on the detail. I was focused on delivery. Like I was the delivery boy. I've been delivering for the last how many years? I was the delivery boy. I can deliver. If you just give it to me, I will deliver. Whereas when you move into more directorship or leadership, you're empowering other people to be the delivery boy. That was a big shift for me, like huge shift, right? But I made up my mind as part of my 5-year plan that's what I wanted to do. So I think it really goes back to that whole what's your end game, right? When 10 years from now, Do you still want to be the guy that's doing the delivery? Or because if you do, that's fine. There's nothing wrong in it. It's your roadmap, right? And so therefore, there are certain things that you're going to have to do now to ensure that you can still be the hands-on guy 10 years from now, right? And still grow. Because I think what I'm hearing from you is like, one, you don't want to lose money, you want to keep growing, but you want to do what you're more comfortable with. So that's why I've answered the question in this light, right? And you then have to really do a soul search to say, actually, do you? I mean, you've done this for 10 years. Do you still want to be the doer for the next 10 years? And if the answer is yes, then it's probably an easier thing. So you just have to keep doing what you're doing and find ways for people to pay you more to do what you like doing. Does that answer your question? And like I said, as long as
Yeah, yeah.
that's good, yeah. So
I think, like you say, just do a little muscle searching and then decide
yeah,
which way you want to go. Thanks a lot, sir.
exactly, exactly.
Thank you very much. Amazing stuff. Any more questions? Any more questions? So if you have questions, right? Okay, that's I see someone. Blessing, are you talking? You can't speak.
Yes, I do.
Please ask your question. Your
Okay,
name
can
and
I?
where you're tuning from.
Okay, hi, I'm Blessings. I'm calling from Abuja, Nigeria. So my question would be, as um as a young individual entering into starting her career, right? How do you handle how do I put this? How do you tackle the issue of, okay, maybe you applied for certain roles, being your background, like for instance, I'm a lawyer. So having applied for certain law firms and not getting the law firms you desire, and you're now getting some other places, maybe finance. Do you just stay? Do you just wait on, oh, until I get a law firm being what I want to do, or do you just take it that way? How do you handle that initial entry into the career space?
Yeah, that's a good question. Um, and I think the way I'm going to answer this question is twofold. One, first of all, you need to be clear on what feeds you, right? So yeah, you might have a desire that ultimately you want to work for the best law firm, but they're not accepting you right now. So, but you need to work. And so sometimes you have to take low hanging fruit, people that are willing to have you, and you use that as a building block to get into ultimately where you want to get to. Like one of my mentors said to me, if you ultimately want to work for this law firm, I'm using your story as an illustration now. If your long term goal is um, to work for a particular law firm, you have to be willing to find ways around that to get to it, right? Because if they're rejecting you now either because your experience is not enough or you're a fresh graduate, blah blah blah. So why don't you go somewhere else where you're still practicing law, um, and build yourself, build your career, do the trainings, find out, network with people that are in that organization, find out what are their criteria, how do they choose people, and then you build out an opportunity to network with people in that firm that you really want to get to, and you keep doing that. It might be a 2 year, 3 year plan. You will find yourself that you will be in a better position to be accepted into that organization. So it's really about planning for the long term rather than just looking at the immediate right now. So yeah, right now they've rejected you. Like when I went from where did I go? When I went from the College of Law to Accenture, they rejected me the first time. But I built enough credibility and interest that when a job that really fitted me came up, then they approached me. You want to build yourself in such a way that the job that you really desire ultimately comes looking for you. And so while you are waiting for that ultimate job, you take a job that would feed you, that's still in line with what you're doing. So, if you're a lawyer, you want to start your first job to be a lawyer, then you can just go to a smaller firm and then go in there, have impact. You know, that idea of be a small fish in a big pond rather than being um, a big fish in a small pond, right? So go out there, find things like take that compromise, right? Remember, I don't know. I mean, you're saying you just graduated, blah, blah, blah. So you probably have 30 years of working ahead of you. Probably. I don't know your age, but let's just go with the way the world is right now. And so, what does it matter whether you work for them now or you work for them in 5 years' time? And so, it's really about having that end game plan that ultimately gets you to where you want to get. Let's take Steve Jobs for example. He started Apple. They fired him from Apple. He went off and did other things, and guess what? Apple called him back, and he died serving the company that fired him. So if you think about the story in the context that it's a 20-year story rather than it's a, oh my gosh, I need to do this before I'm 30, right? It helps you to think, like if I talk about the end game plan, where do I want to be 30 years from now when I look back, what do I want it to look like? Does that help, Blessing?
Yes, it does. Thank you very much, Mr. Lishala.
Okay. All right. I think Faith's got her hand up again. She's double
Yeah.
dipping for another question.
Faith, do you have a question?
Yes, I do. Thank you very much.
Well, before you ask your
Also
question,
now,
have you
question is
gotten Shola's book?
No, she hasn't. She's just on the call, but
Okay,
she probably will.
because more of your questions, I mean, some of the questions may be answered in the book. So
Okay.
please try.
okay.
Okay, Faith. And I think
Okay.
this will be the last question, right, Mr. Yeah. Go on, Faith.
Okay, so my question is for me, I like I said earlier, I did chemistry education in the university,
Yes.
but now I'm working as a rep, as a sales rep with Reckitt. My question is, can we choose a career because of the money, like because of financial stability, or we should choose a career based on our interest, even if it's not fetching us as much as we want? Is it advisable? Like me, for an example, now I took this rep job because of the money. The money the educational structure of Nigeria is offering, it's not what I want to be collecting, or that's not the money I want to settle for. So should we choose a career based on the income or based on interest? Thank you.
I mean, you've been listening to me all day. So, based on what I've said so far, what do you think the answer is? Let's have a dialogue about it rather than me just answer your question. Like,
Okay.
yeah,
For
what do you,
me, I think both way. What makes you happy to an extent and what fetch you money?
yes, exactly. So you kind of know the answer to that question, and I'm just going to reiterate that that is the correct answer, because sometimes you have things that you're doing that bring you the right income to get you to ultimately where you want to go, right? Don't get me wrong, it is frustrating sometimes because where you really want to be is not where you are, right? So it kind of gets frustrating sometimes. But the key thing that you have to do is
Sure,
to make
it is. Sure.
yeah. So you have to make up your mind that look, this is a long-term game, right? It's not just now. It's not just for today. It's a long-term game that we're involved with. And how can I position myself such that I can
Okay.
do what I need to do to get what I want, right? So you're doing this sales thing at Racket right now, right? But I mean, based on what you're saying, it's not your end game. But at the moment, it's paying your bills, right? So it's fantastic for you, right? Because it's helping you to do that. And while you're doing that, you need to start thinking about, okay, what do I want next? Like what's the next thing that I want in my career and how do I find that? And that's why I'm saying that, mentorship, um, personal development, all these things become very critical for you because they are the keys that unlock the door to you getting to where you want to ultimately get to. So, I think I'm just going to kind of close that question out by saying, look, yes, sometimes you do things. Like, for example, when I moved to the UK, and I use that as an example, I was doing a job. I mean, I don't want to be a security guard. Now, don't get me wrong, people have made money from it, but for me, that's not what I wanted to do. That's not my passion, but it paid my bills. Like it paid my bills. It allowed me to study things I wanted to study. It allowed me to become who I ultimately am today, right? So I think there is always, like you said, a combination of a balance between the things we're doing right now that keeps us, fed, and the things that we need to do to get us to where we need to get to. And I think it's I put the link for the other book in the chat. The oh, are you talking about the books that I talked about? Anyway, sorry, somebody's asking a question on the thing, so I will answer that. So I've put the link for managing up for career progression. I think I've answered the last question now. Faith, does that answer your question? Do you feel more equipped to
Thank
face
you very
the
much.
world? Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone. I believe that there are still more questions, right? But I mean, I genuinely believe that some of these questions that you have been covered in the books by Shola, managing the sudden change in your career and managing up for career progression, right? A great man once said that if I have gone further is by standing on the shoulders of giants. It's once said that what an elder can see and sitting down, the child may not see whom while standing up. So thank you everyone for joining. I don't know for joining. I mean, Shola, I even had some questions myself, right? Because I believe that there were people here that may have finished. You said started as a security guard. People there, they may have finished with like very low grades in school, like a 2-2, a third class. Like, do they give up on themselves? Like, is that a determinant
Yeah.
for
Well,
what
hold
they
on,
can
hold
have?
on, hold on. Like I've got a few. Let's just quickly answer that because it's very important. It's a very important question. Yeah. Um, I finished from University of Ife with the third class,
Wow.
right? So everything I've been able to achieve has not been limited by, and I don't have a master's degree, right? I did do a certificate in management, but I don't have a master's degree, and I graduated from Ife with the third class. Now, the reality is that I'm not sure the last time anybody asked me what did I get from university. I mean, I'm longer in my career, um, but the reality is that um, the reality is that it shouldn't be a determining factor. You know that you shouldn't let any setback in life become a determining factor, right? Because I mean, I did a seminar once in Ife. Actually, I did it in Ife, and I was like, "What do you think will happen to the person that has a third class degree, worked in security? Would you allow your daughter to marry them, or So I'm just saying that to encourage you that don't let your degree or what you've got or you don't have to determine your ultimate future. Hopefully that answers your asked question, and I allow you to close now.
Okay, yeah. I mean, yes, it does. I mean, and for many people that may be on the call that are experiencing that. So thank you everyone for joining. And the link to this session will be sent. I'll allow Ms. Shola conclude for us. But remember that this program is powered by Japa Global. I'm really impressed by the turnout. It shows that a lot of you had questions. A lot of you still have more questions. Shola, is there any way people can, if they wanted to reach out to you for like maybe like maybe clarity call, like a paid clarity call or something? Is there anything
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that?
I mean, we do a paid clarity call, but I think the easiest thing, I mean, the QR code on the page there takes you to my LinkedIn. So just LinkedIn with me, and we can continue the conversation from there, right?
Okay, so there's a
So,
QR code on Shola's page.
no,
You
on
can
on the slides now. There's a QR
that
code there
on the
that
slides. I
takes you
beg your
straight
pardon,
to
on the
my
slide.
LinkedIn profile, or just find me on LinkedIn,
Yeah,
um, and we can connect there. Yeah.
yes, yes. So I want to
Hopefully you
say
got
very
yeah, hopefully you got value from today, and I answered some of your questions. And for those who are going to watch the recording, you know, you can definitely move from stuck to unstoppable. So keep going.
thank you very much. And Shola joined us all the way from the UK and made a very as in has a very busy and tight schedule. I want you all to say thanks. You can unmute your mic. You say, thank you,
Thank you
Shola.
so much.
Thank you,
Thank you so
Shola.
much.
We're very grateful for your time. Thank you very, very much. So as I said, this program is powered by Japan Global. We help you get hired faster, access to jobs, revamping your CVs, and even access to mentors. It's part of some of our upcoming products. So in case you need any of this, you can reach out to us on IG. And visitors would like to connect with you and we'll send you the recording of this session. Thank you, everyone. My name is Owen. I'm glad standing instead of Japa. Thank you, everyone. Have a
Thank you.
wonderful
See
Thank you,
you, Owen.
Japa.
Thank you,
Really do
Japa.
appreciate. Thank you.
All right, though. Abuja for life.
Thank you
Abuja. We
all.
can't
So
wait to
Abuja for life. Thank you.
we can't wait to have you in Abuja. Please, when you
All
go
right.
back to Nigeria, please come to
Thank you.
Abuja.
Okay.